So there's my response earlier was more so about, I guess, technologies that have been around for quite some time to be able to extract oxygen from the plentiful sources already on Mars. Um, but in terms of trying to use plants to do it, it would be a slower process, but maybe it's just as efficient, and possibly you get a it's more efficient from perhaps from the use of energy, solar power. Um, Instead of maybe an artificial leaf, I would encourage you to also look at the synthetic biology that's going on in our country, especially at Ames Research Center, as ways to produce oxygen, just letting the biology do it. Um, the biology isn't artificial, um, but at the same time, it doesn't look like a leaf, um, and it's still using some photosynthesis processes as well as other processes in biology to extract large amounts of oxygen. So again, take a look at the synthetic bio or syn bio going on in our country. Um, I can email you a few names and a few references later if that'll help.
All right, thank you for your answer. I actually had one one thing in mind related to this. I just read a news article that in China they are proposed these kinds of towers or houses, if you will, that contain basically are contain full of trees and like green components that try to eat the CO2 that is produced by the traffic and then produce oxygen. So, any thoughts about that related to Mars?
Well, that's a natural eclipse system. On the space station, I don't know that we would get for the mass that we would have to put up there, such as a tree, that we get the benefit or the meet the loads removal that are required for a crew. So again, it's a trade space. Is you can there's a lot of things you can do on Earth um, that doesn't cost you anything, but if you try to do them in the space station or even on Mars, it's going to cost you considerably in terms of moving mass around and the energy required to do it. But certainly, Mother Nature has developed processes um, to clean up the environment, and certainly CO2 from humans is how they eat and how we live. So again, it goes back down. It always goes back down to or traded as a mass and energy.
Yeah, sure. Thanks your answer to that. And there's also another follow-up question to this. Your comments about the dangers of oxygen production in terms of for fire, for example.
In terms of fire, I'm sorry, say that one more time. You mean pure oxygen?
So the question was, what are the dangers about producing oxygen?
Well, pure oxygen, you'll have to keep it contained, of course, from any fire hazards, and hopefully there wouldn't be any fire hazards. But the other thing about it is the oxygen will need to be, if it's going to be used for breathable air by the astronauts, it'll have to be combined with some buffer gas. On Mars, the atmosphere is about 3% nitrogen, but that may not be enough nitrogen. So nitrogen may be one of the things we have to ship in. Um, but if you're going to be growing plants, you probably want some nitrogen anyway for fertilizer. So um, anyway, that's again, you do have to worry about a 100% oxygen environment, especially if you got Velcro around. We certainly learned that lesson with Apollo 1, and we don't want to repeat that.